Hey there, we are live, I believe. So if anybody's watching, throw us a thumbs up or comment or something. Let us know that everything's going okay, because we can't hear, obviously. So today we're going to cover a few things in regards to archery pain management or archery injury management, dealing with archery injuries, things along those lines. So we've done some stuff like this similar in the past. This is my wife, Heather, before I go too much further. So yeah, we're going to be talking about archery injuries and things like that. So like I said, if you guys can hear, please say something like that. Let us know to make sure you can hear and see us and everything. It looks okay on our end, but yeah. So as people are coming in, we have some questions that we fielded out to my patrons. All right. Thanks, Ryan. Ryan's a patron, by the way.
Hey, Ryan.
So we've got some questions already that some of the patrons posted on my Patreon page to let us know basically some of their pains and stuff that they're dealing with. So that way we can fill some time as people are coming in and we can address their questions as well, just because, you know, they can't make the live feed. So anyway, anyone you want to start with in particular?
Doesn't matter.
Okay. How about David was having a question, having a problem. He's a 59-year-old male, new to archery. He bought his first bow a few weeks ago, 2 prior injuries to his bow shoulder, and he seems to have aggravated by the pressure of resisting the bow's draw weight, which isn't a problem for the draw side. He said he thinks it might be a rotator cuff issue due to his age. Range of motion is okay, but if he extends his bow arm out to the shooting position and then rotates his thumb down, he experiences sudden and sharp pain. Naturally, you don't twist your bow arm like that. But that aggravates it. He took a week off. It seems better. But he's assuming the problem hopefully doesn't require surgical solutions. And is there any exercises, stretches that might alleviate the pain? He's trying to avoid the doctor. I guess before she answers this question, Heather should introduce herself and her background.
That was my plan.
Sorry.
I'm Jake's wife, and I am a sports and orthopedic massage therapist and also a personal trainer. I've been doing that for somewhere in the nature of 10 years. So I have lots of experience. And to the question, that's about it. So the question, without having a little more information, it is kind of difficult to give a full answer. So I'll give it a couple different scenarios and things that he can try at home. So he said that when he puts his thumb down, he's having pain. A pretty common test that you can do is to actually put your arm out straight, put the thumb down, and then slowly lower your arm. If your pain increases or you have a sudden dip, I'd say even if you don't want to, you should probably go see your doctor. That indicates a rotator cuff tear. There are other tests, but since you're already in that thumbs down position, I think that's a good one to try. Also, I don't know what the previous injuries were, so if you're here and feel like you want to elaborate at any time, please do so. But what I can say is when you're up here and you're pulling your bow back, that's a lot of load on the shoulder, on the acromion. I mean, Jake, you've had quite a few tendonitis issues and things with the subacromial space. So you can speak a little bit about your experiences at maybe the training center?
Yeah, so I had a lot of shoulder pain when I was shooting, mostly on the draw side. I did have some on the bow shoulder side, especially once I started going up a lot in volume. It was challenging because I couldn't take time off because I wanted to keep shooting and get better. So what I did was a lot of physical therapy, a lot of work with the physical trainers and massage therapists and the chiropractor, doing everything all the time. I mean, I went to sports med pretty much every day, about an hour a day at minimum, every single day, and basically rehab exercises, but then switched to prehab once I started getting better. So rehab helps fix the problem. Prehab helps prevent problems, at least in my experience.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So yes, the cat is screaming in the background, as you guys can hear.
Yeah, it's a part of our life.
Yeah.
All the time.
So exercises really helped me. You know, they weren't really fun because I shot a lot of arrows in a lot of time, but it made a big difference. So I know it really doesn't take a whole lot to make a big difference of rehab because it's not like strength training. You don't work to fatigue. You don't work to failure. It's not a no pain, no gain. It's actually quite different.
Right. It's higher repetitions and very, very low weight. So the goal anytime we're doing rehab is to strengthen the small muscles that support the joint. The shoulder is a pretty complex joint. You have 17 muscles that connect to this movable joint, obviously. Without knowing exactly where in the shoulder the pain is, I can give a couple exercises that, in my experience, have been very helpful for clients who are looking to strengthen their shoulders. The other thing, archery related, that I think is worth looking at, a lot of people will get impingements because they're taking this arm up too high. So I've never actually seen him shoot, and I don't know if his arm is up high or not. But being really careful not to bring this above parallel, because when it becomes above parallel, you pinch this subacromial space. And
so if you're shooting very long distances, and instead of just lifting up like this, I'm right-handed, as you can tell. My left-hand technique's terrible. So to get up higher, all you do is you hinge at the hips like this. And so you keep your shoulder level as you're shooting uphill or downhill if you're shooting like field archery. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I would agree. That's a no bueno.
Right,
sure.
It's going to cause problems. Okay, so the few exercises for shoulders. Internal, external rotation. You can achieve that a few ways. We have our lovely towel. So you can do it from standing position or laying down. If you're going to sit and do it, it's probably the least optimal way, but we're sitting, so it'll be fine. So actually, Jake, I'll have you do it. You can stick a rolled towel underneath just as support, and then starting with no weight at all, keeping your arm at 90-degree angles, you can do internal.
So I would be laying on my side, right?
You can do it seated.
Oh,
you don't have to lay down, as long as you're keeping everything straight. The best way to do it is laying on your side, and then this arm up with the towel between your arm and your ribs, and doing external rotation that way. Mm-hmm. So that's how you do that with a weight. If you're going to use a weight, use a half a pound or a 1 pound.
Like a soup can if you don't have any weights.
Something really small.
Doesn't need much. I mean, when I did it, in my experience, I was doing 1 pound weights, and I graduated to 1.5 pounds after 3 months of doing this constantly. And it was pretty excruciating because it's tough. It's a lot of work to do this little teeny exercise.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then to get internal, you can use a stretch band. So if you put the stretch band on the outside, you can pull it in. So
you can take a stretch band, like everybody's got one in archery just about. You can get some extra ones. Actually, we've got some links we'll post in here in a second about some stretch bands if you guys are interested in stretch bands. But when I was traveling, I would close it in a door jam, and then I could do my exercises even when I was on the road.
Yeah, I actually, anywhere I go, I never leave home without my stretch bands. So, and you really just want the lightest weight. The yellow is usually the lightest weight one. Sometimes the red one is. So really look at the manufacturer's specs to make sure which one is the lightest. And it can also be the flat ones. Like they're about 3 inches and flat, stretchy. A lot of people use those for practicing. Yep. The other thing I like, and Jake, you can pan over there. I'm going to go around the back. So with your arm,
sorry guys,
our mess. Okay, so with your arm parallel to the ground.
Actually, I'm gonna come on the other side.
This one.
There we go.
Okay, so with your arm parallel to the ground, you put a ball, a light ball, not a medicine ball. It's just a soccer ball, and you can do the alphabet. So that's A, B, C, D, E, and so on and so forth. And what you can see, and I don't know how much you can see, but my entire shoulder is moving, and you can see the muscles that are turning on just through these little tiny movements. It's harder than it looks, but I feel like every archer could benefit from doing this simple exercise.
So somebody asked how many reps and for how long, like with the stretch band or the 1 pound weight, things like that.
So keeping in mind that you're doing this with the lightest possible weight, or even with no resistance to start, I would do somewhere between 15 reps, maybe 3 sets. I wouldn't go crazy. Don't do 30 or 40 reps when we say high reps. Just because you're really trying to engage. And just by engaging those muscles, you're actually going to strengthen them, bring blood flow, and work on building to support the joint.
Yeah. And so, yeah, same. When I did it at the training center, it was a 15 rep minimum. Basically. Yeah. So, and then as far as the wall ball deal, it's just trace the full alphabet. By the time you get to the end, you'll be rough. Yeah, definitely do both sides. It's always best to do both sides, even if one side is only interested, because we do a sport. Well, archery is a sport where we create imbalances anyway. So we want to make sure that we don't create more of an imbalance, in my opinion. So, yeah. Yep.
That's big. Let's
see. Ryan is a patron, and he asks, let's see here. If you get some sort of tissue tear, should you shoot through it while incorporating and recouping exercises, or should you take time off and really work on therapy? When do you start up again?
So I'm going to say that really depends on the type of tear. So say you get a very, very minor tear. Some physical therapists, and of course, if it were me, I would go to my physical therapist or to my orthopedist and say, what are your thoughts? How severe is this tear? So if it's something extremely minor, you could always go back to, am I shedding?
Mm-hmm.
You can always move your bow weight down a little. Or if it's not affected by your shooting, like say you can shoot and you can shoot in perfect form and without additional pain, I think shooting is okay. But generally, when you have a tear, really focusing on rehab strengthening and doing things like form with the stretch band. I think there's a lot that can be gained from just doing form in a mirror. Something that we like anytime we get any sort of minor injuries. And I know my physical therapy clinic that I worked in for many years, we all recommended taking collagen. Obviously check with your doctor, but collagen, it's just a way to help repair tissue, and we recommend beef collagen. So if you're a vegetarian or whatever, they have other options.
I've actually didn't.
Go ahead.
I didn't recommend it, but I said what I would do, and Ryan shared that he actually was taking collagen, and it made a big difference for him. So yeah. I mean, personally, anytime we have an injury, we're taking 3 scoops a day. It's a pretty substantial amount, but I've definitely noticed my injuries heal much more quickly. Yeah, absolutely. So. That also includes my skin issues. Like if I have a callus that decides to grow a blister underneath, or I cut myself on my shooting finger accidentally or something like that, I pound the collagen for a few days in a row, and my cut heals in less than half the time. So I can get back to shooting more. So in my experience, as far as tears go, I've never had an official tear of anything. I've had a lot of people say, oh, you tore this, you tore that, but you have to go through a lot of diagnostics to kind of figure out if it is actually a tear or if it's just an overuse type of thing. In my experience,
I will tell if it's a tear.
Yeah, but that's diagnostics. Yeah. And if you're not going to actually get the diagnostics to diagnose something as a tear, you have no idea. It could be just simple fatigue. It could be some scar tissue. It could be overuse. It could be a lot of things. It's very difficult to say without true diagnostics. So, because I think in my experience in archery, a lot of people will say, I injured myself, I tore something, I did this. And it's like, well, what's wrong? My rib came out of place. That's kind of an everyday thing for most people. It happens. You know, you ever have rib pain and you can't breathe? That happens. It's not an injury. It's just an everyday thing. Archery could have exacerbated a situation and made it come out of place, but it's not necessarily an injury. So I wouldn't be too concerned with too many things unless you've actually gotten diagnosed and worked with somebody, because archery is a unique sport for sure. And also diagnostics is always, I always advise if you take some time off, you do your rehab, prehab stuff, and you take your collagen and you're still having pain. In my clinic a couple months back before COVID, I had a girl come in, she's having pain. We did soft tissue work and she saw several therapists and everything is fine. I'm like, hey, you really need to go get checked out. I think you have something more wrong. She's like, no, I'll be fine. It's just a strain. It didn't get better. And 6 months later, it turns out she had a stress fracture. So it's one of those things that through high repetition, you really just don't know what's going to happen. So Yep.
Getting things looked at isn't a bad idea.
Definitely. So we'll take a question from you guys. I found one here that would be, it's actually an interesting one about shooting heavy hunting bows. And then we'll go back to a couple more patron questions. Booty Scrups has a question of if my, or Bodie Scrups, if his bow is high weight for hunting, what's the recommendation for time between shots for good muscle recovery and building up strength without sacrificing form for volume of arrows? This is something interesting that she would know a bit more about because of your physical training side.
Right. So if we're looking at high weight, think of it as strength training. So with compound, it's this unique force. You have a pull.
It could be recurve.
Oh, I thought it was compound.
No, he just said it's a
hunting.
high weight. Yeah, so he's hunting.
Sorry.
He could be traditional hunting. I'm going to assume he is traditional hunting based on the viewers of the channel.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, that's okay.
So I would say that is not only muscle endurance. Did he comment?
Nope.
Oh, recurve bow. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Perfect. Okay. So with recurve, I mean, I would do a set, just like you do a set when you're strength training, and then give yourself recovery. So if you're doing high weight, then that's similar to like a 5-3-1 type workout. So I would do somewhere between 5 and maybe 8 at the high end of shots, arrows in a row, and then take 2 to 5 minutes of rest between, especially if you're really looking to gain strength and to recover. Taking a little more break actually helps you recover more quickly, and it gives you more muscle endurance and strength in the long term.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wouldn't do more than 8 arrows in a row though if it's high weight.
Yep. I hope that answers that question. Let's do one more from our list. This person's name is Jim, and he has developed a pain in the joint of his bow hand where the thumb meets the wrist. He believes it's called the base of the metacarpal. It started out as a dull pain and has become sharp when pressure is applied to the joint. So yeah, I think that's right here is where he's getting this pain. I can speak from experience really quick.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So I had actually some pain here, and it wasn't from, luckily, I was very lucky that it didn't happen when I was shooting. The pressure in did not hurt, but if I did anything with my thumb and I did this motion and I pushed in, or if I squeezed with my thumb, or if I pushed my thumb forward. So let's see if I use this hand. If I take my thumb and I pushed it forward like this, it would give me a ton of pain right where he's describing. And we did a couple of taping patterns that maybe we'll show to help support the joint. But I think what Heather's going to tell us something about what could cause some pain here.
Well, we were talking about it off camera a little while ago, and in archery, I've seen people when they're pushing. So we're supposed to be pushing from here and pushing straight into it. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I've seen people either twist on a release. I've seen them push from all the way on the side or squeeze. Like they're pushing and they
like they're doing like that motion that I was saying where they're pushing like this into the bow instead of pushing like this into the bow.
Right. And so if you're doing any sort of squeeze, this tendon here is pretty fragile, and through high repetition, it's really common to get injury in that tendon. So if it is in fact here, I would really look and see, are you squeezing? Because if you're squeezing or if you're doing any sort of twisting on the release, but just like
well, not necessarily on the release, but I've seen it where people, when they shoot, and especially with a Olympic style recurve, I know this person is shooting bare bow, but with Olympic style recurve, when you shoot, the bow wants to spin, right? And some people will move their hand out of the way because they're afraid for the stabilizer to hit them or the limb to hit them or something like that, or they'll twist this way. And that can cause quite a bit of thumb and wrist issues
or
too.
If they're not using a finger sling, they can be not confident that the bow will stay, so they're squeezing the bow to keep it in place. But a taping pattern, so you can use 2 types of tape. You can use like a kinesiology tape, which this is rock tape H2O. I like it because it stays. And if you're going to use it on your hands are going to be sweaty. It's a great option. You can always use also just like athletic tape. Like it's a bit more rigid, For the thumb, it's okay. I wouldn't use it for many other places on the body while you're actually shooting. So I'll show you quick, just with kinesiology tape.
So I'm posting 2 links on Amazon. They're affiliate links for both the rock tape, which is a small roll about that big, and then I posted another link to a cheap K tape. It's a Kinesiology branded or off-brand whatever tape, and it comes in a big roll, and it's actually the same price as a small roll as that stuff. They're both different. This has a little bit more stick to it, so if you're really sweaty, really working hard, and doing a lot of stuff, that might stick better. But everybody's skin types are different in our experience.
In the clinic, I use this on like high exposure areas. I would not, if somebody was, I don't know, retiree age or older, I would not use a rock tape H2O on their skin anywhere other than their hand or maybe their foot, maybe. Because it'll actually take the skin off with you when it comes off, and it'll be on there for 14 days or more sometimes in some people. So the H2O, make sure you have good strong skin before you put it on. Anyway, so I'm gonna use your hand. So, gee, thanks, Jake.
Wow.
Okay. This is awkward to do, not standing. Okay, so first for the thumb, you only need a very small piece. So this is maybe 3 inches. What do you think?
Yeah.
3 inches?
For your metric people, it's maybe, I don't know, it's 9 centimeters. They get angry if you don't include them.
Okay,
Where's everybody from, by the way? Let us know where you're watching from. I saw a couple people saying where they were at. Go ahead.
All right, so this is almost the size of my hand.
So about a 6-inch piece and about a 3-inch piece.
And about a 3-inch piece.
Yeah.
So especially in your hands, round the corners. And you do that so it doesn't come off very quickly. It just makes it less of an exposed area.
It doesn't catch on like clothing or something like that, so it doesn't roll up and pull off easily. So yeah, definitely round the corners.
Okay. So with rock tape, the neat thing is it's a cloth tape, and you can actually just break the paper, and you can see that you can break the paper and peel it back, and you have this, like you see the texture. So for the thumb piece, you're just gonna pull it, not so hard that you break the tape, but just enough so that it's snug. Hand up, and the thumb and like fully
so
extended, completely open. And then you're gonna pull it, slap it on, and then with no tension whatsoever, just lay this piece down, and with no tension here, lay this piece down. And then the next piece, break just the bottom, and it's just paper again, so rip it. The goal is not to touch the adhesive part. And now I'm gonna have Jake really open his
So I'm
hand.
taking my thumb and I'm pointing it down.
Pointing it down. Okay, and then this goes right here.
So she's anchoring just that little tab.
Just a tab. And then pull the paper with almost no stretch and come up over that area that is painful. And there we are.
And then any Kinesio type of tape or rock tape, K tape, whatever it is heat activated. So after it's stuck down, you give it a little bit of friction, and then it actually sticks to you a little bit better. And then for the small piece, she was making it, I don't know, what did you say, 50% stretch?
No, like maybe a 20.
Okay, so if it
20,
was,
30,
so she adds
20%
20% to the size to it and then sticks it down. So yeah.
And this one, you really don't have to add almost any stretch whatsoever because you're putting the hand in the position that you want it to be in, which is overstretched. Because if you overstretch the tape, its natural inclination is going to be to come back together, which will help support this so that it's not going to, and it shouldn't bother you, like if you were shooting.
So when I had my thumb injury, I was trying to get it to go away because just picking up a dinner plate, just picking up anything really hurt. Luckily, again, it wasn't from shooting, but I shot with supporting tape on, because anytime I did anything, even just picking up my bow, grabbing it, it was hurting really bad. So it didn't affect my shooting at all as far as putting the tape on my hand itself. So that worked out pretty well. Yep. Okay, so let's see what we've got. Some more questions coming in. Sorry, they're flowing through fairly quick, so I'm sorry if we miss them. Just as this goes on, feel free to repost them, and we'll get to them. Gary Thompson's got a question. Any advice for recovering from a tennis elbow type of injury? I'm going to assume it's on your bow side. So if you are still here, Gary, please let us know which side of your shooting arms are the tennis elbow on. I'm going to assume it's on the bow side, because that's fairly common. It's common on both. Is it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. When we ran the Archers Association, she saw a lot of people that came in to work with her. Yeah, I taped hundreds of body parts. Yeah. Every tournament. Yeah. It was fun. Yeah. So we'll wait for him to respond. That's the carpal tunnel one. Carpal tunnel. Where was it? Up further. There. Mild carpal tunnel. A lot of people have carpal tunnel. Deliver My Shark. He's a patron as well. Cool. Nice. I'm glad everybody's tuning in from there. That's awesome. He's got mild carpal tunnel syndrome here, and over the past few years, sometimes when I try to keep my wrist low and pressure in the palm while shooting, it seems to agitate it. So definitely. Meaning when he puts the pressure down low. Yeah, that's a great one. So I have a taping pattern for that, but there are two things. I don't know where my putty is. Anyway, so there are two things that I recommend for anyone with carpal tunnel, and this will help dramatically. You can talk while I look up the putty link. Oh, sure. You can still be seen. So perfect. So we have lots of tools. These are just regular old Gua Sha tools. This is a rock blade, and this is Indiglo. I don't know, some random tool on Amazon. But for all of you who don't have that, a butter knife works really well. If you don't want to spend the couple $100 on this and the $50 on this, we've all got these. So I'll wait for Jake to be done because I can't see. Go ahead. Oh. What's in the frame? Oh. He's on the screen. I've got, really, really quick, because this is actually very helpful stuff. It is. Heather hooked me up with some of this stuff too, and it helped with warm up a lot. This is grip strengthening putty, is the link that I just sent. I keep loaning all of mine out, so I have no idea where that is. So it's not actually for strengthening. It's more for breaking up. Rehab. Yeah. No, it's rehab. So anybody who has carpal tunnel, it's going to be really important to strengthen, but even more important than strengthen is going to be breaking up those adhesions. So carpal tunnel, we are in this position all the time. We're typing in this position, we're like texting in this position. We're always impinged here, which shortens these muscles. So the reason I said a butter knife is great is that obviously this is just shea butter. This side is serrated, so you don't want to put that on your skin. It could hurt. But the other side, for most butter knives, nice and smooth, right? So Jake, you can be my guinea pig again. So I just use shea butter. It's just like African shea butter. You can use coconut oil. You can use regular lotion. You can use olive oil. Anything you have. You just want to make sure that the area is very slick. So although you're having pain down here, if you take your knife again on the dull side, and without actually putting pressure, it's very light. It's almost like tickle pressure to start. And you can do this on yourself. You're going to start at the wrist and work all the way up to almost the bicep. So we're just going do. So you're going to make probably 50 passes. So count, you've got 50 passes. You could do half passes. Don't go back and forth, because if you're going down towards the wrist, you're actually going to push fluid toward the hand, creating more inflammation. Your goal is to get rid of inflammation. Now, once you've done your 50 passes, butter knives have ends. It can be pointed like ours, or some are flat. Either way, you have some sort of dull end. And if you, let's turn so they can see your brachioradialis. See this here? I can make him scream. Oh, don't do that. It's mean. Mean. But
this is one of the major culprits in carpal tunnel, are these really tight muscles. So if you take this sharp edge of your butter knife, not the serrated area, but I guess the dull edge, it's not sharp. And then just kind of like color like you're coloring in a coloring book. So not hard, just like you were using crayons, and go along this edge. And you can see the muscle here. So you're gonna go all along this edge and just keep going. All of this, and just go back and forth in very small motions. Because you're using little tiny fine areas, you can go back and forth. Now, if you're doing broad strokes, make sure you're always going towards the heart.
Yeah.
So here we are, back and forth. Now, obviously, you can use your fancy tools. Like, we love our rock tape. You know, it has all of these great little nodes and divots and things to work, but most people don't have a rock blade sitting around their house, but we do have these. So after you do the top of the arm, you'll turn it over again, lubricate the area with shea butter, coconut oil, or whatever you have, and do broad strokes starting all the way down at the wrist and coming all the way up through the entire forearm. I would do that daily for the next few weeks, and I'd be willing to, and I probably shouldn't do some video, but I'd be willing to almost guarantee that the carpal tunnel pain will either be more than 50% gone or gone. So
and things to
effective.
avoid bony areas. Don't do it over your bones. I would not do it where tendons are either. Just be careful. Be very careful.
Okay. Just never on a bony process. And a bony process is anything that's like pokey or hard. So like you can see I'm bony. Yeah. So don't do this on like the lateral epicondyle here. It's a bad idea.
Whatever that means.
The pokey parts. Don't do it on that. And then for carpal tunnel, the other amazing thing is tape. So even if you are in full, my hand is numb, I'm in pain, it's not functioning, I can't hold anything, this taping pattern will almost guaranteed fix it within seconds.
Yeah.
It's not going to solve the problem, but it's a really nice Band-Aid to get you through and to just open up that space to allow blood flow and your nerves. So I can show you on Jake. I'll have to.
Sure.
I mean, we're going to take it off. So.
Yeah.
Oh, side note, when you put tape on, make sure that you don't do it after you have sunscreen on. Don't do it after lotion. Get out of the shower, wipe the area with rubbing alcohol, let it dry, and then put it on. Otherwise, it won't stick. And
this type of tape, the goal is to basically leave it on until it falls off. And even as it like starts rolling up, like if the edge starts rolling like this,
then just trim it.
Then you just trim the edge off and leave the rest on. As long as you can, because it's going to be doing what this tape does. Why don't you explain?
Oh, I guess I should tell what the tape does.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me cut a small piece.
Also, really quick, because I've seen a lot of people here that are talking about draw fingers being stiff and hands hurting and things like that. That the link to the putty that I put in there. Start with the super soft, the softest
Extra
stuff you
soft.
can. And like, I'm not even up through the second level. I never got above the second level of 5 because I didn't need it. And really, really good to warm up with that before you shoot. It's for everything, the carpal tunnel, the finger stiffness, the pain, the whatever. Warm up with it before you go and shoot, especially if the shooting is causing the pain or you think it is, or at least maybe the pain is limiting your shooting ability. Warm up. You can sit there and roll it between your fingers. Warm up each individual finger with the putty and do all sorts of stuff. Yeah, you just play with it.
And actually, if you're nervous before a tournament, it's a really great tool to take your mind off of the nervousness as well. So it can be dual purpose. I would play with it for like 5 minutes before you do anything. But yeah, I use the Extra Soft, and I have very strong hands because I'm a massage therapist, and I still use the Extra Soft as my prehab sort of thing.
Yep.
So the tape. And not all putty is created equally. So like the therapy putty, the reason that's nice is that it does get to a very soft consistency. So Play-Doh is actually pretty similar. The only problem is Play-Doh stains your hand and it makes it smell bad. So, but if all you have is Play-Doh, that will work.
Yeah.
Okay, so tape. Tape has a few main functions. The first thing is that our bodies are very smart, mostly. But in regards to tape, it's actually kind of dumb. So our body sees tape as this foreign entity, much like a splinter. And when you have a splinter, your body says, wait, I need to get this out of my body. And so it sends tons of blood flow and oxygen-rich nutrient blood to the area, which flushes the stagnant area.
Sorry, I figured so they could see better.
Sorry. So it sends oxygen-rich blood to the area, flushing it, and then it creates more space and actually alleviates any sort of inflammation or swelling that you have. So that's the main function. The next function is that it actually can help with stability. So say you're having posture issues. There are patterns that we can do to help your body stay in the correct position. And unlike those straps that keep your shoulders back, what this does is activate muscles, because it will be applied in a way that it will lengthen this muscle that's too short and shorten this muscle that's too long. So it helps, lengthen and shorten to keep your body in a better position. And then the last function is for inflammation. I don't know if I said that. I'm not great at this video.
Maybe you did. Did you say about how it lifts the skin off the belly of the muscle to drain the drainage?
But that's what it does.
Yeah. So because it scrunches up and it pulls and lifts the skin up and creates space and allows the fluid drainage and the flushing to happen. So you're essentially creating extra blood flow in that area to remove the inflammation and to bring in healing. Yeah. Super simple. It's amazing. Yeah. It's worked for me a lot. It's something I really like.
It always sounds like hooey or snake oil, but I can have people limp into my office and walk out with just tape. So it's pretty awesome. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh, carpal tunnel.
Yeah.
So
we'll do carpal tunnel real quick, and then I saw that Gary Thompson responded about the tennis elbows. So we got to go back to that, because we've seen that a lot too. So we definitely want to talk about elbow pain. Okay, so carpal tunnel. You want a piece of tape that is basically, I've taped Jake's arm a few times. I know, it's fine. So you can take that one out. Okay, so you want to make sure the piece of tape is basically from wrist to elbow. Jake, I'm going to have you put your arm out, and then the palm has to be stretched all the way down. So I'm stretching as much as I can.
Making sure, again, you always round the corners. You're going to rush this. So round the corner just to make it less of an area to pull up. Break the paper backing. Pull this up. You're going to lay it down. So right here, you have this line of the wrist. That's exactly where you want to lay the tape. So laying it down. And then peel the paper up. And with a little bit of, and always extended. And then with just a little bit of stretch. So not a lot. Just enough so it's not wrinkled. You're going to lay it down. And then apply friction to activate the tape. So that's one piece. I had another piece.
I think at the same time I hurt my thumb, I was taping myself like this too, because I was having wrist issues overall.
Sure I was taping you.
Well, you did, but I went to a tournament and I had to do it myself. And so I stuck my hand against a wall and held it in this position while I was trying to tape it myself. Anyway, do I stretch again?
Yeah. So then you have one more piece. And it's just, I always call it a wrist strap. I don't know if there's an actual term. But again, you break it in the middle. The goal is to make it long enough so that it will be on either side of the wrist. So break the paper in the middle, stretch it just enough so it's almost see-through but not quite. Lay it flat over this, this edge, and then relax your wrist and just lay the edges down with no stretch whatsoever.
So the edges you don't want to do any stretch with, because if you're stretching the edges, they're most likely going to want to slip off your skin. If you put it with no stretch, it's a good anchor to keep everything still, I believe. Yeah. And then again, rub it to set it in place. And again, you can shoot with this. You can do everything normal. Your range of motion is still there because it moves with the skin, but it's going to bring that extra stuff to it.
Right. So you'll have feeling in your hand again, and it shouldn't hurt.
Yep.
So it's a great tool.
And people are saying, just try the butter knife works.
Butter, it's an amazing way to massage yourself.
And if you're interested in a Gua Sha tool, because that's kind of what this is based off of, is Eastern medicine. It's called Gua Sha.
Or the Graston type.
Yeah. Which is very is more clinic oriented. Is Graston, but they're like $3,500 for a set of tools, and I think you have to have a medical license to even buy it.
No, I can buy it. I mean, I have a medical.
Well, you have a medical.
So I guess
we can't buy them, but she can.
But I don't want to. I have a butter knife.
Yeah. Anyway, so this is a link for a Gua Sha tool. There's many of them out there. This is just one quick one that I grabbed. I think it was like 16 bucks. And it's stainless steel, so it stays clean. It's pretty much like that, a little bit different. There's a bunch of them out there. So you can grab those and, scrape your forearms. That's great for me because I lose feelings in my fingers all the time from, squeezing and holding the string and all that, or at least I used to. Now it's from holding a grinder in the shop. But they're great. They're super useful to have, and they come in different shapes and sizes, but there's just one anyway. Somebody asked really quick if it's legal to shoot with tape on in tournaments. Absolutely. Yes, 100%. I've used it a few times for pain as well as for some performance stuff, but we'll talk maybe about that eventually in the future.
Yeah, I think we're talking about doing a taping video in the near future because we have some really, really fun performance patterns for shooting in the wind or for bow arm that likes to raise up, things like that. So
so we can do some stuff like that. And then we're also kind of just kicked around the idea of coming up with like a cheat sheet type of book for taping specific to archery, because why not? I mean, it helps a lot. So anyway, let's get back to the one question that was posted earlier.
The tennis elbow?
The tennis elbow. He said, where was he? It was about tennis elbow pain, and he said it's in his upper forearm and it happens both sides sporadically. Is what I remember seeing.
Forearm. It's not actually on.
Well,
the elbow joint.
Everything passed really quickly. Done both on upper forearm. That's what he said in response to which arm was it.
Okay.
So.
So a couple things. If it's in the actual elbow on either side, these like epicondyles, so the little pokey parts, if it's so without knowing exactly, so if you can respond, if it's on the actual like forearm area, like up here, or are you feeling it more on the joint of the elbow? That would be very very helpful.
Here versus here. Yeah.
Great. So let's see, he might respond. But just general for elbow, most elbow pain is from tricep tightness. Especially you see people pulling back lots of weight and they're using a lot of their triceps and not enough of their back. They'll end up with elbow pain. So really stretching your triceps. And then again, that good old butter knife. We use it for everything. So literally just.
When I get elbow pains, it's up here is where it's at, and it's awful. It's all tricep.
So all tricep. So you have your muscle belly down here, and then the attachments up here. So you can do that. And then if you're having pain and it just comes at a tournament and it's not something, or you're out practicing or whatever you're doing and it's not chronic, you can actually use tape. We have an amazing pattern for tricep pain, or for, elbow pain. It can be tennis elbow or golfer's elbow, or we should say archer's elbow. Super easy pattern. So about the size of your hand is what you're going to use.
He said on the upper forearm exterior pain occasionally leading into the low tricep. So upper forearm into low tricep.
Yeah. So I would guess that it's tricep.
Yep.
Because
for me, when I get my pain, it's right here, and it's when I straighten my arm. Like if I'm pushing up off of something or pushing something, it's right there is where I get that pain from the tricep.
Yeah, I would guess tricep. But also it could be your brachioradialis as well. Yeah. This forearm that we were talking about in regards to wrist pain earlier. Yeah. So bicep does this, but it is a secondary movement to do that. But here, this is a very, high use area, especially for archers. And you get a lot of adhesions. So for people who don't know what adhesions are, if you can picture every single one of your muscles kind of looks like a sausage. So you have the muscle, and then you have this casing over top of it. And then scar tissue looks like spider web. So you'll get these like casings that have spider web that connects two muscles together, and then they can no longer move efficiently on their own. So by using the butter knife technique or go to a sports massage therapist, they're able to break up those spider webs or adhesions, which will allow everything to move more freely. So that is definitely the goal with your Graston tool or your butter knife or going to a sports massage therapist.
Yep.
So the elbow taping pattern, we've done these.
I know the position.
So you want your elbow bent as much as possible, your hand in a neutral position. Piece of tape just about the size of your hand. You're going to break it in the middle, open it up without touching the tape. First, you're going to put one piece just right over the elbow with just enough stretch so that it's not wrinkled. And then without any resistance at all, lay the ends down. And then you have a second piece, same size. And you're going to go the opposite direction. So you create an X, same way. You break in the middle, pull just so that it's not wrinkled. Put it on, and voila. You can do 2 anchor pieces. I'm not going to cut the tape, but it's just this size. So it's small. You cut it in half this way, and you can put one here and one here. It's not required, though. Just putting the X will save you tape. And
then when you strengthen, you can see, go ahead.
When you straighten it,
how
you
much
can see
the skin pulls off, like we were talking about earlier.
Right. So it pulls the skin away from the body, which will allow more blood flow to get through and more room for your nerves.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Yeah, it'll take away pain. I mean, I've been to 3D shoots and things, taping people as part of the association, and I think I would probably tape for every 5 elbows something else, and people would come up, oh, my elbow hurts so much, this isn't going to work. Put it on, and they're like, wait, it doesn't hurt anymore.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's a great fix.
Yep. And Deliver My Shark asked about preventing the elbow pain from using too much tricep, maybe in the bow arm or something like that. And in my experience, I would say it depends on the level of shooting that you're doing. It also depends on other factors. It depends, like, for example, it depends on if you're shooting with dampers on your bow or not, on your stabilizers, because if you're shooting a super high modulus carbon stabilizer that's really stiff with the weights directly on the rod with no rubber disconnect, that vibration can ping up and exacerbate elbow pain. And if you're shooting extremely high volumes of arrows like I was, it's just inevitable. When you really start getting serious about shooting archery and you shoot a lot of arrows, dealing with these ailments are absolutely needed, because in my opinion and in my experience, if you're not dealing with some sort of inflammation or dealing with some sort of soreness or something, then you're leaving a little bit out there, in my experience. Unless you're
doing a good job with your prehab and take all of your self-care. If you are warming up thoroughly and you do the, Gua Sha and Graston technique and make sure you don't have any adhesions. You're doing all of your small muscle strengthening. You're doing your big muscle strengthening to support the small muscles in the joint. And then you do your arrows, and then you stretch afterwards, and you eat your extra protein and your fats and your carbs.
And do contrast therapy then you can be fine.
Then I think.
But let's be honest, there's only so many hours in the day, and
right.
If you shoot 8 to 12 hours in a day, you've only got a couple of hours before you got to be in bed. So there's it can get out of hand, especially if you accidentally do something stupid. In my experience, most of my pains dealing with archery were brought on by non-archery things. Like I tripped on the sidewalk and I caught myself from falling, and just something as simple as that, my neck was killing me for the next week because I popped something out of place or whatever. And so in my experience, most times of my things, it was not directly related to archery. It was indirectly caused by, catching a plate that I dropped and moving really fast and I tweaked my back or something like that. So it happens. Yeah.
So I think this is a perfect segue to get into, even though somebody didn't ask, but I think most people deal with this, neck pain. And
I actually saw a few neck pain questions.
So neck pain and then upper rhomboid pain. So turn all the way around. So right here on the back, most people have a lot of pain back here right around the scapula. You can't see it because of his shirt. But, oops. Technical difficulty. Okay, so let's see if we can make your scapula pop out at all.
Do you want me to wing?
Yeah, wing for us. Okay, perfect. So we can see here's the scapula. Turn your body. Okay, so that was the scapula, and these are the rhomboids. Most people will have back pain here, and then they have neck pain up to the occipitals, especially right around this occipital ridge here. Okay, you can turn around. I would be willing to bet that 90% of that is your posture's too good. There, this. So we're on our phones,
or we're on the computer in this position.
You know, you're in my household, just reading books. Everybody's in this position. And this very forward. We're at work. We're in our cars. We are, everything we do in our modern society is in front of us. And because it's in front of us, our pecs are really short and our necks we're looking down. So all of this is very short and tight. And if this is short, you can even see here, all of this has to be long. And if you have a rubber band and you were to stretch that rubber band as far as you can, you'd see that the edges would be kind of white where you've overstretched the rubber band. So if we again look at this is contracted and all of this is overstretched. So the area of pain is going to be at the top of the neck, anywhere you have an attachment point. So to get rid of neck pain and to get rid of upper back pain, we need to strengthen the posterior chain, so all of the back and even the back of the neck, and then really work on stretching your neck. The anterior neck, not down, never this. This is an unnecessary stretch. We do this every day in life, all the time. So really work on opening up your pecs and then squeezing your scapula together. If you're in your car, you can just put your chin parallel and then push it back into the headrest. And as you're pushing it back, squeeze your scapula together and count to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax, do it again. Push every red light. So that's what we do at red lights. We always tuck our chin to help put our spine back where it's supposed to be, and to shorten the back muscles, and then also squeeze our scapula together.
So the worst thing, like if you're having neck and back pain, the worst thing, especially if it's in the back, the worst thing you can do is do this and be like, oh, this feels so good to stretch it, because all you're doing is making it worse. So like she said, and a chin tuck tip is, if you can't move away from something that smells awful, what are you going to do? You're going to go, oh, that smells terrible, right?
Chin.
So that's a chin tuck, and your goal is to make this as flat as possible, and that aligns everything the way it should be. So that helps a lot. So I've seen a few questions about that stuff too. So that happens.
Make sure your bed is level.
Well, this one's funny. Deliver My Shark. He's a comedian. He said, "Is there a taping pattern for the neck? I want to make Jake a rock tape mummy."
We've done that.
So again, I'm sorry if you guys have been asking questions. These move through pretty quick, and as we have a fairly lengthy answers to answer your question, which is not a problem, and we're glad to be helping. It's just we mean no offense if we don't answer your questions, because there's a few of them coming in. So Greg has a question about low back pain and tightness. He gets it on the bow arm side, and he thinks it may be from the coiling, the twisting motion of Coach Schlee's method.
So is he shooting on flat ground? I think that's my, and then I really need to see like videos and pictures of people. That would make this 1,000 times easier.
Yeah, this is tough. I can speak from my experience about low back pain and tightness. And for me, and it had everything to, I thought it was, I would stretch my hamstrings and be like, okay, that feels better type of thing. But okay, Greg said, yes, it's on flat ground.
Okay.
So he's shooting on flat ground.
And it's only on which side?
Is it only on the left side? The bow arm side.
So it's on the bow arm side.
So the side that actually gets stretched as he's turning.
Okay.
Because he's rotating.
Yeah.
And then
Okay. So you can give your experience if you want, and then I'll give my thoughts.
So I alleviated a lot of my lower back pain from stretching my psoas muscles, which is the hip flexors, the ones that lift your legs upwards. And then also I had a whole lot of back pain even after strengthening or lengthening those and stretching them to the point of where I couldn't feel the stretch much anymore. And she said, it's because your quads are tight. So every time my lower back hurts, we stretch my quads and my back pain goes away. I may be unique, but that worked for me. So.
Yeah. Most men have low back pain because of tight hamstrings. It's actually pretty rare that it's quad tightness, but you have long hamstrings, which, most guys can't touch their toes.
Yeah.
Sorry for being general and stereotypical
Whatever.
there.
So Greg says, yes, it's only the bow arm side.
Only the bottom. Okay. So I would be very interested, Greg, if you could, and I don't know what you're doing right now, so you can always get back to us at some point. But if you have a buddy there or a phone, if you lay down flat on your back and put your legs out where your ankles should line up, I'd be willing to bet that one ankle is slightly higher than the other.
Meaning your legs are shorter. One is shorter than the other, but it's not.
I would bet. I would be almost, I'd bet money that it's your quadratus lumborum. So if you have your back here, be my model again.
What do you want me to do? Stand up?
Turn towards the back.
Oh.
Okay. I'm gonna lift up your shirt, Jake. Woohoo! Okay, so the quadrant, you have the sacroiliac joint here, and then you have his ribs here.
Oh, the QL for us laymen.
The QL, sorry guys, the QL. So the QL comes down, and it's almost shaped like a fan, like that you fan yourself with. So a fan here, and it's all of us therapists call it the hip hiker muscle because it literally hikes up your hip, especially if you have a little external rotation. So I'd also be willing to bet your toes are pointing out, or at least that toe is pointing out. Isn't that true with his method?
Not can be. So try shooting with more straight feet. And not just shooting with more straight feet. If I would walk
it's
and stand
so it's
with
not
straight
shooting.
feet.
I would be willing to bet that you have some external rotation going on, either one or both. So check that out. If so, making your feet straight. Yeah. Okay. So feet straight. And by doing that, you'll actually help close that sacroiliac joint, which will keep it from being able to hike up. I would stretch your glutes. And I know that seems it's in left field, but almost always it's from external rotators being too tight. So stretch your glutes.
Said he tends to be a bit duck-footed. Yep, there's your problem.
Duck-footed.
So it's not archery related. It's everyday related.
It's probably everyday.
Well, but it's exacerbated by the archery position. So I've been.
So I can give a better explanation.
Yeah. My parents have been complaining about lower back pain and all sorts of stuff, and she's been harassing them. Straighten your feet. Straighten your feet. Straighten your feet. Guess what? After about several months of feet being straight, no more back pain. And that goes for the question of that somebody asked, same question, but on the opposite side. It's probably how you do everyday stuff.
Right. Okay. So I'm a horrible artist, so please forgive me with this. Sure. Okay. So, I don't know. Let's see. Can I see it?
Yeah. Well, they'll be able to see it. Okay.
There. Okay. So this is the sacrum. These are the sacroiliac joints. Here is your iliac crest, iliac crest. So you can kind of see this looks like hips, a butt. Right? We've got a butt. So these are the two dimples that we all see. And then this is that sacrum. This is the sacrum, which is the bone right in the center. That quadratus lumborum was the muscle I showed you on Jake. So it's the QL. Okay. So we have my horrible drawing here. Now you have this muscle here that comes and connects to the greater trochanter. This is your femur, so your leg bone. So the piriformis is an external rotator. A lot of us have heard about piriformis. Oh, you have piriformis syndrome, you have sciatica, you have all of these issues. A lot of it stems from this because you have the sciatic nerve that goes under there. But what this muscle does, when you stand up and you put your foot out to the side, this shortens. And now you have this extra space because if this is contracted, you have extra space here, which leaves the SI joint vulnerable and the QL can lift it up. And if you have a table, right? So just a regular table, and you have a watermelon in the center. If you put a book under this end, all of a sudden, the table is now in this position. And so you have an edge on each side so the watermelon can't fall off. And this is where it was. The watermelon is going to come to this side. or all of your body weight will be on the opposite side. So this is where your pain's going to be because you're no longer flat. And so if you're external rotated, chances are one side is more than the other. And the side that is hyped, the opposite side, will almost always feel the pain because, again, the weight is going to be on the lower side.
Yep.
If that makes sense. So very long answer for really work on keeping your feet straight, strengthening your glutes, and massaging them. So literally just rubbing your butt. You can sit on either a single lacrosse ball, or we have 2 lacrosse balls that we've taped together to make kind of a peanut. You can literally just sit on it, put it in the muscle belly of your glute right in the center, and just sit there, and it'll help actually open up the glute.
Yep. And chances are where you feel that, oh God, that's awful, that's probably the spot to be working on. Yeah. So yeah, Imran, same thing. There is mostly internal, external rotation of everyday life. And yeah, so pay attention to that.
I can't see the questions. I'm blind.
Let's see. Somebody's asking, this is James Gallagher. Is it good to use deep freeze or deep heat to relieve pain? And if so, which one do you use for what? So I'm assuming that's like a topical, like a biofreeze or something along those lines. What do you think? I mean, in my experience, it brings blood flow to the area and relieves a bit of, superficial pain. But I don't know. In my experience, it's not done long-term benefits for me.
So it can do a couple things. So if you're just talking about the topical creams and you're not actually talking about heat therapy and cold therapy, which is amazing, the topical creams do a few things. One, it actually kind of creates almost like a pain, like they use capsaicin and they use menthol. Yeah. And basically your body is focusing on that pain as opposed to the actual muscle pain. So it can alleviate some pain. I don't know that it will fix it. But if you did that, say, whenever you felt necessary, I mean, I don't know that there's anything major. They say, or it is common practice to use heat before you do something active and then cold afterwards. And then always ending everything you do on cold. But as far as the topicals go, I think it's whichever one masks the pain better for you.
Yep.
So.
Yep. So they're actually on this type of tape, you can put the
rock sauce.
Yeah, the rock tape has their own stuff called rock sauce, and they have a heat and a cooling. You can put it right on the tape, and it actually sticks in there longer, so you get the cooling and the heating effect for a lot longer.
Yeah. Pretty
neat. Let's see. So we've gotten, since we're on hot and cold, somebody asked, let's see here, Miami, I don't know what, says, do you recommend hot and cold treatment after heavy days?
Yes,
so
100%.
Go ahead.
So you can do them individually, or my favorite is together, and I'll talk about the benefits of all 3. So if you're doing heat, you should really only be using, if you're using heat alone, I would use heat before you go out and shoot, especially if you have any sort of injury. If maybe you had a very high volume day the day before or 2 days before that and you're really sore, if you take time, either do it organically by a big warm up, or you can kind of cheat your way through it a little and hop in a hot shower, get in the hot tub, do something like that for just a little bit of time. It makes everything move a little bit better and helps flush the muscle. But after you do any sort of heavy workout, I would avoid heat unless you're going to do what's called contrast therapy. Contrast therapy is using as hot as you can stand it without hurting your skin, or cold, which is recommended at 52 degrees. And so you're going to either, it doesn't matter if you start or finish on, or if you start on hot or cold, but you always need to finish on cold. So you're doing 3 minutes of hot, you get out, you do 3 minutes of cold, get out, do 3 minutes of hot, 3 minutes of cold, and you do that for 21 to 24 minutes maximum, and you always, always, always end on cold. And the reason you end on cold is that the cold helps constrict the blood and flushes the area of whatever inflammation you have, because your body wants to protect your organs. And so anytime you get cold, your body sends your blood flow back up to the organs to protect it and away from your limbs. So
especially like, even if you're having hand pain, you could just dip up to your forearm and hot, cold, hot.
5-gallon bucket is amazing.
Yep.
If you don't have 2 bathtubs in your house, you just stick your whole arm and use just a kitchen thermometer, 52 degrees. Don't get colder than that. You see athletes who are sitting in ice, and it's like, I mean, that's a great way to damage your skin. Therapeutically, you only need 52 degrees. So,
yeah. Obvious. Something crazy that was at the Olympic Training Center was we're in sports med, and we see them bringing in hot tub gear. I'm like, oh, we're getting a hot tub, sweet. And it was a cold plunge. The thing was 52 degrees, but it had bubbles like a hot tub. It was not pleasant. Yeah, they could fit like 8 to 10 people in there at one time. It was nuts.
That's awful.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to say, in cold, anytime you're having body pain, slap some ice on it. And then when you're finished working out, I would ice it.
When in doubt, ice.
When in doubt, ice. Unless it's right before you do something.
Sure. But some people, you can actually increase way too much inflammation from heat. So that's why when in doubt, ice. Unless you're going to go do an exercise, obviously, because you don't want to exercise on cold muscles. So anybody that's asking questions, please be as specifically detailed as you possibly can. Because when you just say something of, what about draw arm shoulder, or what about the pain on the draw side, or this or whatever, we need to hear if you can, and she's medically trained, if you know, or if you've seen a therapist and they've said specific type of muscles that are hurting, or if it's the attachment or the muscle belly, or where it is on the body.
Or is it on the outside? Is it the top? Is it in like?
Yep. Is it sharp pain? Is it dull? Does it just ache? When does it happen? When you're shooting, or 30 minutes after you're shooting? All of these details are extremely important to figuring out what the type of pain is, and how we could suggest some help from our experience. Because if it's an ache and it's dull and it happens afterwards, it's more, in my experience, when I had those pains, it was tendonitis. When it was very sharp and acute, it was something that could be fixed relatively easy with some modalities. But if it was achy afterwards, it took a lot more rest rather than,
it could
for
also
me,
just be temporary overuse.
It could be. So.
And I saw with each breath, he said, do you advocate parallel stance? I wanted to point out that I think it is really important for anybody, do the form that you want to do. And as like sports therapists and medical professionals, our job is to help you do what you want to do with as little pain as possible and to keep you as healthy as possible. So I will never say you should only be doing this stance, you should only be doing that form, you should only do whatever it is. I don't think that's think that's accurate. I don't think that's right. You are the athlete, and I think you should be doing it however is best for you and your form. And it's our job to help you get there in the least amount of pain possible. But as far as, do I advocate parallel form? I advocate open stance, but with feet mostly parallel. Kind of yes and to both. So Becky has a question from the UK. She finds after about 2 hours of shooting, her bow arm upper trap gets tight, and she feels like she is maybe rolling her bow shoulder from being tired. She said it's more of an ache in the upper trap. Any exercises to recommend or anything to help? Strengthen. Lots of strengthening, because most of the time when people have upper trap issue, it's because they're getting tired and they're starting to do this. So don't you always say reach for the target, and then really work on strengthening your deltoid, strengthen your biceps, strengthen your triceps, serratus, your lat, your trapezius. I mean, really and truly, this whole area. I really like to use stretch bands for that. So you can do a lot of rows where it's connected on this side, and then you're pulling to you. You can pull from the top and come down. You can pull from the bottom and go up. Pull from this, the middle. I like to pull across instead of pulling here. That way you have to go through the full range of motion. Just doing tons and tons of posterior. Another, aside from the pulls with these awesome stretch bands, I like to do even something just as simple as like just static holds with 1 to 2 pounds. Don't ever go above parallel. I actually recommend going right below and having a neutral hand so your palm is pointing down, and just hold. So we're doing something called a Tabata. It's 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off. So you hold 20 seconds, come down, hold 20 seconds, come down. And by doing that, you're going to strengthen your deltoids quite a bit, and that will help you keep your bow arm up. And then doing serratus rows, which are right in front of you. You can put the stretch band up high and come straight down.
Yeah, serratus and subscap and all the shoulder stabilizing muscles make a huge difference to being able to control your shoulders. Another one I like to do was in a plank position, and you do shoulder retracts, where you retract your shoulder blades and then you push as far forward as you can, and then you retract and push.
Being careful not to do this.
Yeah, not elevating. You got to keep them down low, and you're going from here to here. You know, essentially, it's like a push-up without your arms, basically. I really liked a lot of shoulder stability exercises. That helped me a lot too. Okay, so I did post a link there for a stretch band set in case anybody is interested. And when people are seeing this not live, when it's actually on YouTube, all the links that we're talking about, I'll put in the description below so you guys can find those too. Okay, so we've got some.
Do you have any more Patreon questions?
Yeah, probably. Okay, so Alan has a question. He's from Australia, I believe. His wife has recently been getting some mild pain in the ribs on the right side. She's a right-handed shooter, and she took and went and got a contrast CT scan, and it's showing stress fractures in the ribs. And she's a nurse, so she has limited time to train. She is 58 and on HRT, which is hormone replacement therapy. Yes. And she has a tendency to shoot too many arrows infrequently. Any discussion on treatment and prevention would be appreciated. So, Alan, let's see. Go ahead.
So, first of all, I think it's really common when we're busy to go out and just say, I'm going to go for it.
Especially when you don't have much time and you're like, I need to use as much time to my advantage as possible. So you just go for it, right?
Right. So I think first and foremost, without even addressing any of the other things, if you're going to go for high volume, be sure to do a dynamic warm up and like really prepare your body to work, because as a nurse or whatever it is you're doing, most nurses are pretty active. They're moving all the time. They're working with patients. They're lifting. It's fast paced and it's a lot of work. So it's not a sedentary lifestyle, but making sure they're really working to warm up those muscles, archery specific muscles, prepare your body to work before you start. Now, addressing a couple other things. One, said that she's on hormone replacement, which tells me she's probably dealing with menopause. Women have this really interesting thing going on at menopause. We tend to create more scar tissue than normal. That's why you hear of so many women with frozen shoulder right in that menopausal, like 5 to 8 year span. It's actually pretty common. So again, making sure lots and lots of warming up, doing exercises to break up any sort of extra scar tissue that can come. And again, like we talked about earlier, scar tissue looks a lot like spider web. So envisioning breaking up that scar tissue. So doing passovers, which you can do with a stretch band, or you can do it with like a broomstick. That's how I do mine. Without pulling, you come all the way over and all the way back. So it's super easy, but it's just help moving the humerus in that socket. The other thing, having fractured ribs is, one, extremely uncomfortable, but two, it creates a lot of opportunity for scar tissue, and scar tissue on your ribs is really miserable. The worst part is that scar tissue continues to grow and actually peaks around 2 years post-injury.
Really?
Yeah. So that's something that really has to be taken care of. I don't think I would recommend using your, butter knife on your ribs, because intercostals, which are the muscles between the ribs, are really tiny muscles. So just taking lotion and really working between every single rib and just very gently rubbing, kind of like the alphabet, between those broken ribs and that intercostal will be very helpful. And then taking tape anytime she's going to shoot, if she's going to shoot through this, and just literally slapping a piece over each area with no stretch or anything, just putting it on there, because it will reduce inflammation and help support the area during shooting. So I would definitely recommend recommend that. And I know, Jake, you struggle with some scar tissue in your ribs.
Yes, intercostal rib pain was awful for me. Mine was on the back side, actually, on the bow side, about 6 ribs down from the top. So kind of like at this height, right in the middle of my back. And it was really, really excruciating pain all the time. Like somebody was taking that butter knife and sticking it in between my ribs and twisting it. That's what it felt like. And it was really bad to the point of where I went to sports med, as I did for everything, and they tested me out and did all sorts of tests. And they thought I had thoracic nerve outlets. Thoracic outlet syndrome. Basically what happened was I laid on the table and they wanted me to punch up, and they put a weight in my hand, and they wanted to see how much weight I could resist. And on my right side, I could resist almost, they were pulling down on my arm, and I could keep it up. On this side, I could keep it up, and then they put a 1 pound weight in my hand, and my shoulder hit the table because I had no strength to keep that up. And what happened was it was just scar tissue built up in the intercostal muscles, the muscles that go in between your ribs that keep your ribs kind of controlled. And what fixed it for me was super simple. I just hugged a physio ball, and then I rotated and opened my ribs up as much as I possibly could, and then breathed really, really deep into my chest cavity to extra strengthen or extra lengthen those muscles to break up that scar tissue. And I did it both ways, even though it only hurt one way because clearly I was really limited and it was just surfaced on the one side. And within 3 weeks, all the pain was gone, 100% of it. So, and I still do that from time to time. If I notice my ribs are hurting, I'll just, I can do it now without holding onto a ball. You can use a pillow, just do that and breathe as deep as you can into your chest. Doesn't feel good, but it definitely helped break up that scar tissue for me.
Yeah,
so
that's a great method.
Yeah.
Another one, if you have something overhead like a door frame, you can grab that, lean in.
Yeah, so it's opening up this
breathe,
side. Yep.
And it does the same thing. I really like the ball method. That's a great method. And then one more side note, if I don't know if there was any sort of acute incident that caused the stress fractures. If not, being in that hormonal shift of life, being careful about bone density. So making sure you talk to your doctor to make sure all of your levels are good with that. And then you could always do something. We love ruck hiking. It's where you put on a weighted backpack, can be very small weight, 10 pounds, and go anytime you go for a walk, because just that added weight will be load bearing to help increase the bone density. So it's a nice kind of hack. And plus you burn a few extra calories that way and strengthen your hips and your legs. And it's great.
All right, so we've got a lot of questions rolling in. Let's see. Somebody by the name of Norbert. Hi from Hungary. Sometimes I feel a pain in my holding arms shoulder tendon. Sometimes when this happens, it lasts for weeks and I feel a pain when I try to do movements or use some strength. What could cause this? So I'm going to ask him.
I'd be willing to bet it's here. It's bicep tendon would be my guess. Because is this holding or is this the holding?
This is the holding.
This is the holding?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. That would be my guess.
I would be willing to bet it's bicep tendon. And if that's the case, I wonder how much he's twisting his arm. Because the bicep's primary action is to twist. So when you're here, is there any sort of extra twist going on? But if the tendon, if it's hurting here, I would work on opening your pecs, because that is a major cross for the pec minor. And then also, like I said, bicep tendon all comes here. It's probably actually pec.
Yeah.
I'd look at lifestyle. So really open up the pec, strengthen your back with rows. And then you can use, earlier, I don't know if you were here, but we talked about the Gua Sha tools or Graston tools, which you can buy. Otherwise, you probably have a butter knife at home. Being careful not to use the sharp side. Don't use the sharp side. You can take the dull side, and then with some sort of oil, like shea butter, this is just African shea butter. It's from my clinic. You can massage it on your pecs, and then literally just
Yep.
Rub your pecs.
So in my experience with the bow shoulder and draw shoulder, so some people are asking about shoulder pains, both sides. And, you know, I would say, oh, if it's right here or it's right here or whatever it is, it's in my shoulder, it's deep, it really is sharp, and or it's dull, both ways, depending on which type of injury it was. And it was almost always the bicep. So I guess the bicep head, there splits into two, a long and a short head, right? And like she said, the pec crosses over here and it attaches back there. And all of it was just pec tightness for me, everything. Even
Almost
though the pain, even though the pain was surfacing in the bicep tendon, it had nothing to do with my rotation. It wasn't because I was doing curls in the gym or something like that, or pull-ups, or it was none of that, because I didn't do any of those things at that time. And it was all pec tightness. And it was from sitting there on the computer playing video games or whatever in my downtime, driving.
Poor posture in life.
So we explained that earlier, of sitting there with good posture with your chin tucked as much as possible. I don't have my workstation set up yet here at the house exactly how I want, but she does, where she has both of her screens up at eye level. So when she's typing,
and my keyboard at 90 degrees.
Yeah, it's right there. So it's not looking down at the screen. It's not holding the phones like this. It's, you know, you got to do your best to maintain the best posture as possible and to do posterior strengthening, anterior lengthening, posterior strengthening.
Right.
It's
so
huge.
Tons. And if you have access to a heating pad, one of the few times I definitely recommend heat. People will put it on their back when their back hurts, or put it on their shoulder. I would actually put it on my pec. So I would put the heating pad on my pec and put ice on my back at the same time, and lay in anatomical position, which means your pinkies, hold on. So it means that you're in this position. So your thumb is out and your pinky is next to your leg. So, and you can lay on your back like that, so that you're open, because if you're not in anatomical position, you can see my acromion is here. And just by rotating, I don't know if you can see that, but just by rotating my hand, I can completely change the position of my shoulder, and then put the heat on the front, the ice on the back, and that'll actually make your shoulder feel a lot better, just that alone. But really working on opening your pec. You can do what's called a doorway stretch, where you put your arm at a 90 degrees in a doorway and then lean your body forward. And that will also lengthen the pec, and you can turn your head to then also lengthen your anterior neck.
And then also another thing you can do is you can lay on these foam rollers. You put them lengthwise on your spine and lay on the ground, and you can do it like this. You can do it like this, and all you got to do is just lay there and let pec minor stretch itself. So this is a link to a foam roller too, as well, in case you guys don't have one. They are good tools to have as well. So let's see, we've got in a lot of questions. Joseph has a question. He tuned in late. He hurt his elbow lifting a stack of buckets with one arm. Oh, he felt a pop and a sharp pain in the elbow. Doesn't want to go to the doctor, obviously.
Any bruising?
Yeah. He developed a bruise on the elbow near the large vein and on the inside bottom of the elbow.
No bueno.
Yeah. Is there any stretching, cold, hot therapy? It's been getting better, slowly put off shooting, and as rest as well, seeing how it's way too hot. He lives in Florida.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so earlier I showed an elbow taping pattern.
Right there.
Yeah, so he still has it on. It's literally just 2 pieces of tape. They're about the size of your hand. And then you're going to break it in the center. And with the elbow bent, you're going to put one this direction and one this direction, one this direction, creating an X. Before you put that, though, because I imagine you have some inflammation, I'm going to show a quick pattern. You can leave that on.
Yeah. So just so everybody knows, all this will be on on YouTube for forever. So Joseph, you'll be able to go back and see this video again. So that way you can figure that out.
Yeah.
So this taping pattern is really cool. It's for inflammation. It actually helps pull fluid out of areas. So if you have an injury or something like that, it helps a lot, especially if you have inflammation going on.
Yeah, we've done some experiments with this. A few times, especially when I was shooting compound, have slapped my arm pretty hard with my string and actually like caused back like black bruising all over my arm. I was pretty new and I didn't learn how to turn my elbow at that point. So we put this on, and anywhere a week later when we removed the tape, anywhere the tape was, it was not bruised, and everywhere around it was like that
still
ugly
black,
green purple color.
Because what this is doing is it's doing the same thing that this is doing, and it's lifting and pulling the skin off, and it's allowing drainage.
Skin up.
Well, up. But anyway, she's gonna show us how to do it.
Okay, so with this, you have you can cut it as long as you like, but yeah, I do about the size of your hand. And then starting from the bottom, cut anywhere between 4 and 5 little legs. I usually do 5 just because it gives me more areas to put on the body. And then because the back is paper, you're just going to break the paper.
You break it right where the cuts end.
Right.
Yeah. And so you have the big tab and then the little fingers.
So now you can see the fingers and the tab are separated. And now I hold all of the fingers so I can peel this off. And then
this off so you can stick it in there.
Okay.
For the guy. Okay.
All right. So you're going to put the end up high, so closer to the heart, whichever way is.
You always want to pull fluid towards the heart.
Always.
Yeah.
And whichever area the fingers are not. So the rounded end. So say you're having inflammation in the elbow, I would stick probably 1 piece here, 1 piece here, and 1 piece here coming all the way down. But just so you can kind of see.
3 separate ones.
So 3 separate ones. The first one you can put in the center. So you stick the flat part. I don't know how well we can see this.
Better?
Okay, can we see? Here, you can turn your body there.
Okay.
Okay, so now sticking one at a time, you literally just pull and this piece pops up and then just lay it down without any tension. You just keep laying them down.
You just kind of fan them out in random directions.
Right, and then when you have your other ones, you can cross over. You really can't put them on incorrectly as long as you always put the end point towards the heart. So,
so you would have like a big spider web from these different anchor points.
Right.
And so it's going to grab the fluid here and pull it up away from the area. And it's amazing what it does.
Yeah. So obviously we recommend going to the doctor normally. I understand if you're not comfortable with everything going on. So this will help you it'll help you get through for sure. And I would do that and then do the support taping over both sides and then really take it easy.
I'll get you guys links again to the tapes. This first one is a cheaper tape.
I've used the inexpensive tape. So I do a lot of volunteering at races and archery tournaments and things. I love taping people and I'm happy to help out. So I just show up and tape hundreds of people.
Yeah.
And I'll use the less expensive tape because I can get a huge roll for like 20 or 30 bucks.
Mm-hmm.
And it will stay for the 1 to 3 days of the archery tournament. Now, if I'm doing any sort of training or I'm going to be really wet because I'm out doing a triathlon or a swim or something, then I'll use, say, Rock Tape H2O. Those are really the only 2 type of tapes I use personally or I use in the clinic. The first one, because it's inexpensive, it's not going to stay in your skin for a very long time, but it'll get you through a tournament and it has enough integrity as a tape to last. But if I need something to last more than a day to 3 days, then I'll always pick Rock Tape H2O because it actually sticks and it's rigid enough that the integrity helps with any sort of stability that I want to gain from it. So,
yeah, excellent. So we'll take a couple more questions here. Do you know what golfer's elbow is?
It's very similar.
All right, so somebody's developed golfer's elbow in his draw arm, assuming it's due to poor form. It's only cut his session down to about 10 arrows. Any suggestions? And were you around earlier for the other elbow pain discussion? Besides just this one where we just talked about the pop from lifting buckets. Not sure if you're still here, but
So I would say, just in a nutshell, since we covered this a little while back, I would do the elbow taping pattern that we showed where it's an X over the elbow. And then most elbow pain is from tricep tightness or brachioradialis tightness, which is the forearm, because one attaches here, which golfer's elbow, and then one attaches here, So I would really work on
he said he missed it. So.
Okay, so lengthening your triceps. I keep showing off our fancy butter knife because it's free, but you can get a Gua Sha tool. You could get a rock blade, a couple $100, or you can go to your kitchen and grab a butter knife and some sort of oil. You can use olive oil, you can use coconut oil, you can use fancy African shea butter like I'm using. You could use lotion if you wanted to, being careful not to use the sharp serrated edge. Make sure you use the dull part of the knife. And then, again, the dull side, starting at the bottom of your elbow without a lot of pressure. You just need the weight of your hand. So
and you'll kind of feel like, it's almost like Rice Krispies under the skin. It's like
sand.
It's like, and if you feel that, you're in the right spot.
Right. So you're
going to go little adhesions, basically.
From the bottom of the elbow all the way up, and you'll go over the whole elbow area, making sure you use plenty of lubricant. Otherwise, you don't want to tear the skin. You're going to injure the skin.
Yeah.
And then also on the forearm, I like to use the fatter side on the forearm. Again, never the serrated side. So you'll go all the way up the forearm, and then right here on this, you can see all of the muscles here in the brachioradialis. You can use the edge of the flat part of the butter knife and just like you're coloring a picture. You can do that all along that muscle to break up adhesions. Adhesions look like spider web. And so if you break up those muscular adhesions, everything can move more freely and it won't pull on those epicondyle. So one of my favorite ways to explain, okay, you're going to be a telephone pole. You're going to be 2 poles.
I'll do it weak one.
Okay.
This is, we got to be true to your illustration.
So we have a weak one and a strong one, right? All right, so we have 2 joints. We have a larger joint and a smaller joint.
So the shoulder and the elbow.
And the elbow, right? Shoulder's bigger, elbow's smaller. Now, if we decide that we're going to use, say, our tricep a ton, we're using our tricep and now we've contracted it and we have a knot, quote unquote, in our muscle. The shoulder is stronger than this poor little finger that I'm bending. So you're going to feel the pain here, even though the problem is here. So if you can release that knot, it releases the tension on the elbow. And then eventually the elbow says, I give up, and you're starting to wear on the shoulder. And then you end up with shoulder pain. And then once you fix your shoulder pain, you're going to realize, oh, wait, my elbow was injured all along as well.
Yep.
So really working on lengthening the muscle belly with the tricep, and then also with the forearm. Do the top of the forearm, the bottom of the forearm. Your butter knife is going to be your new best friend.
Yep.
So.
Yep. All right. So Deliver My Shark's got another question, a little different this one. So for hot climate shooting and preventing heat exhaustion, other than staying in the shade when possible and hydrated, what are other good things to do? Well,
you have that frog tug?
Yeah, you can put on you can get a cooling towel. I did a video on that to keep one of those in your quiver, especially if you're susceptible to the heat or if you're not used to the heat. It's tough.
Making sure hydration has happened beforehand, day.
Yeah.
Because what you do that day, it's not really relevant. And then you're always playing catch up. So making sure that if you know I'm going to be out and I'm going to shoot in the heat and we're in a heat wave, it's 110 degrees. Obviously, I try to do it in the morning or in the evening. But absolute best case scenario, make sure you have your electrolytes are in balance. Like Jake, when you're out shooting or you're in the shop working or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I pound electrolytes all the time.
But we get blood work to make sure that we're not going crazy with electrolytes on either way. Yeah, because
you can definitely get out of balance pretty easily if you're excessively sweating. So, especially if you're not used to the heat, it's going to be tough. You got to do your best to put yourself in the environment that you're trying to get used to, you know, because it's not fun dealing with this heat, you know. In Florida, it's inevitable. It's good training. I just go outside and deal with it, you know. But people beforehand, before the Beijing Olympics, the Olympic Training Center literally they put up a tent outdoors and put a heater in it, and you know, in the middle of California summer, which isn't very hot. It's like 75 degrees. It's, you know, nothing to complain about. But they made it like 112 degrees in there or something like that, and they had exercise bikes. They had everything, and the archers that made the Olympic team, actually, they would take target butts inside of the heated tent and do blank bail inside the target or inside the tent, just to like kind of get acclimated and get used to it. So if you're struggling with it, you know, and you know,
we're not recommending put up a tent
no,
and put a heater in it.
But if you're like, so this, I have questions about this kind of stuff all the time of how do you deal with rain? How do you deal with wind? How do you deal with heat? Put yourself in it, you know. If you live in the South or you live somewhere where it's hot and you're always avoiding the hottest part of the day to shoot in the coolest part, that's going to be really beneficial to your long-term benefit. But if you don't at least put yourself in that environment to actually learn how to deal with those adverse conditions like rain, wind, and heat, or cold too, how are you going to deal with it when you have to and when you have no choice? Because there are tournaments in Texas that are blazing hot in the middle of summer. They put the tournaments at the worst times of the year in the worst places, it seems. And, you know, it's brutal. And so to my advantage, I just go outside at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon and go shoot. You know, it's not fun, but I know how to deal with the heat now, you know, or when it's raining, go shoot in the rain. You know, I don't shoot all the time in the rain, and I don't shoot all the time in the wind. I did but then once I learned how to deal with those adverse conditions, then I stopped doing that because I didn't want to train bad habits. Because you're dealing with the conditions. You're not trying to train your body in those conditions. So that's my advice. Outside of that, cold water, my best friend, keeps me cool. It's, you know, healthier to drink warmer water, supposedly. Some guy said it's better for hydration. Yeah, but if you're hydrating the day before and you're already hydrated, you're not playing catch up.
It'll help cool you down. Right.
Yeah.
That's the most important part.
Yeah.
Making sure you're approaching your day already hydrated.
Yep.
Starting it at a deficit, there's no way to win in the heat.
Yeah. So. Yep. Okay, so we have a question from Andy. I've seen this one pop up a couple times. Can you create rotator cuff pain in the draw shoulder from clicker length being incorrect, meaning too short, not expanding fully to use the shoulder to hold the bow weight instead of the back fully? In my experience from shooting, coaching, whatever stuff I do, I don't know if I would say rotator cuff pain. I mean,
I could see tricep.
Yeah, I mean,
tendon,
triceps, teres, infraspinatus, all that stuff definitely, you know, back here gets a lot of pain. And I think, you know, you could cause it from a shorter draw length, being in the wrong position and not being more engaged. But also, you know, I touched on this earlier. If you're shooting a lot of arrows, and it may not be a lot of arrows a week. It might be just like, I've got 2 days a week I can shoot, so I'm shooting as many arrows as I can in those 2 days. You can definitely still cause some issues just from pure volume. So being up on top of your, you know, your prehab, rehab, your warm-ups, your cool downs, your stretching, your icing, your nutrition, supplementation, all that stuff is going to be really of benefit. So you know, speaking from experience, it can happen, the short draw length. But what do you think? I definitely think if it's shorter, because you're not opening up and creating this stacked position. And if you're not stacked, then now all of the weight is you're in this more like impinged position where your pec minor is shorter and the subacromial space is smaller. So it can create a bit of an impingement. And because the rotator cuff is your subscapularis, it's your supraspinatus, your infraspinatus, and your teres minor. There are a lot of players in that, plus all the other muscles. So I really feel like being more in a stacked position and not in this like impinged position is better for longevity. Definitely. So earlier, I don't know if you just came in, but earlier she explained rotator cuff strengthening exercises. So this video will be permanently posted on the channel, so you'll be able to go back and see it and reference that for internal and external rotations and serratus exercises and things like that.
Did you pull up earlier the video?
Yeah.
So
the taping one, right?
Yeah. So Jake's gonna post a video that we did a while back on rotator cuff taping or shoulder pain, archery shoulder pain taping.
It was something like that. Yeah. It was a while ago.
It's a really good catch-all because most people don't know exactly what's going on. Do they know if they have bicep tendon pain, tricep tendon pain? Are they dealing with serratus issues or subscapularis adhesions? Most people don't know that. Do they have levator? That's always in contraction. So this taping pattern is one that we have kind of developed over the past.
You have developed.
Right. So technically, I developed it over the past couple of years working with archers. Actually, even before I was working with Jake, I was working with a group of youth archers, and they all had this horrible shoulder problem. And so with this pattern, it didn't limit their shooting at all. And they were able to go through full, archery range of motion without an issue, and it would alleviate the pain almost completely. It does not fix the issue, so if you're still having pain, it is a way to get you through.
Yeah, definitely. So there's that, and then also I can speak from experience here and tell you my story of having to deal with inflammation was a huge problem for me in shooting. I was always in sports medicine and nobody else was, or people were only there once a week and I was there 6 days a week, and only 6 days a week because they were closed the last day. So I couldn't go 7 days a week, doing rehab for hours a day, getting hours of massage a week, chiropractor several times a week, and just dealing with lots of overall inflammation and dealing with scar tissue being built. And something that really made a huge difference for me was taking a supplement called turmeric and curcumin together. It's a really, really powerful natural anti-inflammatory, and it worked so well for me. It takes a while. It took me maybe 5 days to see the benefit of it. But like, say if I was taking it for a while and I'd forget to take them for a week or two, and then I'm like, man, I am sore. I get out of bed and I look down to put my socks on and I hurt from the base of my skull to the top of my butt because my fascia, which is, basically that's the sausage casing she was talking about earlier, was just so locked and tight that I couldn't move because everything was so inflamed. So taking that daily amongst some other ones really made a huge difference for me and allowed me to shoot more with a lot less pain. So I'm going to post a link for you guys to look at and talk to your doctor about if you are interested in something like that. But it made a huge difference for me for body pain. So.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed a difference as well. I have rheumatoid arthritis, so I always have tons of inflammation, and turmeric curcumin has been really beneficial to me. So just as a personal experience.
Yeah, and it's important to get it isolated in curcuminoids or something. I don't know. There's some fancy term that's like they isolate the strain or do something. I don't know. But anyway. Andy's asking the question, where did you say the tape pattern would be for the tape? I posted a link about 6 comments up. It's a YouTube link for a shoulder pain taping video up there. It's also in the channel. It's kind of deep within the channel.
It was a while ago.
Yeah, it's a while ago from a Facebook Live that we did, maybe 4 years ago now. So, but it's up there. The worst thing you could do is go to the channel and search for taping, and it'll be there. So. Let's see here. Like I said, please, if there's more questions, feel free to throw them up as it's rolling through. We miss them from time to time. So it's pretty difficult to stay on top of them. So
something that I had a lot of people come to when I was doing, volunteer taping with the Association for People at Tournaments. Although it doesn't seem very archery related, I had a lot of low back pain, which we kind of addressed earlier with the foot position thing, but knee pain. Tons and tons of archers talk about their knees hurting. It's like being in that standing position for a long time and having to walk, and especially if you're in field or wherever in all sorts of conditions. So we can address that very quickly because nobody's brought it up, but I feel like it's really beneficial. I don't know how we're going. You're gonna have to stand up.
Back of the couch.
Sorry.
There.
Oh, there. That's fancy. Okay. So with the, again, Gua Sha tool. So if you have a Gua Sha tool, you can use your shea butter, or you can use coconut oil or anything, any kind of lubricant that you have, cooking oil, anything, and put it on the upper leg. So stand up a little bit, Jake. Good. So if you don't fall. So a lot of people will have knee pain. They'll have it on the middle, they'll have it on the inside, they'll have it on the outside, it'll be on the top. Almost always it's related to the quadricep. So you can sit back down again. Like everything, whether you're using the Gua Sha or the rock blade or the inexpensive, I think this is the Indiglo, or using your butter knife, not the serrated edge. Starting at the knee, but never on the actual bony process, so not on any bones whatsoever, and moving your way up the leg for like 30, 40, 50 strokes, and then on the inside of the leg and then the outside of the leg. That's a good way to help break up some of those adhesions. We'll go through a quick foam roll that you can do with that. But if you're having pain and say you step funny, you're at a tournament, you can do the same pattern basically that you do on your elbow. Let's see. This is going to hurt when you take this off, Jake. It's going to rip off your leg hair.
Lovely.
So actually we'll do a different one. Okay, so you have 3 pieces. The first 2 pieces are the size of your hand. You break just the bottom. Oh, we have a visitor. You break the bottom piece just so that you see the sticky part. Bend your knee as much as you can. So the goal is to have this in the most flexion position possible. Stick this piece of tape. If you have the middle here, you're going to stick it just on the outside with really almost no pressure. Come all the way up to the top. And then the second piece, same thing. So even if you left it just at this and you didn't do the strap, it would help pull inflammation away from the knee, and it would give you some relief from pain. The last piece is what really makes the difference because it helps keep the kneecap kind of stabilized. And if you're doing lots of walking or on uneven ground, it's very helpful. So you have a longer piece. This piece is
maybe 12 inches, 30 centimeters or so. Maybe a little longer.
Maybe a little longer than that.
Yeah.
So you're going to break it in the middle this time. Pull it open so you have, just a few inches. And then put it on the bottom part, just where you get half tape and half skin. And then gently, you're going to roll it around, stick it on the top, and roll it around, stick it on the top. And then when Jake straightens his leg, now you see, I don't know if you can see it. You can see that it's really squishy.
Yeah, it's super pulled up.
So this will actually lift the skin quite a bit and allow more blood flow to get through. And even if you have a lot of acute pain during a tournament, it'll take most of it away. So it's something I keep a roll of tape in my bow case. I keep a roll of tape in my hiking backpack. I keep a roll of tape. Actually, I have a little funny fanny pack thing that I wear if I go running, and even on a very long run, I keep a roll of tape with me because I could twist my ankle, anything could happen, and I don't really want it to interrupt my training. So It's a great thing to have in there wherever you are, whatever you're doing.
Let's see. Okay, so we got some more questions. Andreas has a question of, he has some pain in his right side lower back hips spiking down his leg, probably from meniscitis. I don't know. Comes and goes. Long sessions make it worse, over 3 hours. Any tip to prevent it, or any form faults that loose might make it worse? I'm going to assume. Were you around earlier for the hip length discrepancy from the QL and all that stuff? If you weren't, I would go back and look at that. After we're done with the live, it'll be posted so you can see it. But in a nutshell,
a quick low back pattern up there as well. because it's really helpful. But
we'll do another video for taping, and we'll probably break it into individual types of pains. I think that would be a really good idea for you guys to see, specifically for, so that way there's kind of a cache of videos, so you could see, okay, you got elbow pain, do this taping. You got shoulder pain, you got knee pain, you got low back pain. Yeah. So if you guys are interested in that, not just here in the live, but the people who are viewing this not live, comment below and let us know if you are interested in that type of thing.
And what type of pain you'd like to know patterns for.
Yep.
But what we talked about previously, if you go back, you'll be able to see it. But I think basically
it had to do with glute tightness and piriformis tightness, basically.
Yeah, from external rotation.
Yeah, so, and from your feet not being parallel. So make sure you're walking like this and not walking like this.
Right.
Yeah.
And standing like that. But it sounds like you have a little bit of sciatica. I would really work on doing glute strengthening. There's something called a glute bridge. You can look that up. Really easy exercise. And then also lateral walks. So you stand with the band between your feet like this, and you're standing on it. And then you literally just do side steps. Here, I can demonstrate. I don't know if you'll be able to see it.
Yeah, we would.
Probably
It's pretty simple. You stand on them and you just do side steps. Yep.
And then side steps.
Yeah, sciatica nerve pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, I would do that. I would do lateral walks with the stretch band, the lightest stretch band you have, whichever one it is. Like the yellow is always my lightest stretch band. So I would use that. And then the glute bridge. Now with the glute bridge, the most important part is to, when you're laying down and your legs are bent, really tuck your hips tight and squeeze your glutes together before you lift. If you just lift your butt off of the ground, you're not going to get the same effect. You really have to tuck your hips under and then lift. And that'll make a big difference. So those two exercises are pretty incredible. And we'll try to get tape and pattern videos up.
Yeah,
soon.
It looks like some people would like those. So yeah.
And the low back pattern will pretty much, it's all the patterns are very good.
Yeah.
But that one, I know when either of us end up with any sort of sciatica, it's game changing.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see here. Somebody else asked, an interesting question. So do you have any kind of exercise or tips on how to get more used to moving your scapula other than shooting? My coach told me to move it around and get used to it before I start using my own bow. He said something about that nerves in the area should get used to movement. What is your opinion on that?
So I think his idea is really good. Being able to move, I don't know about the nerves, but I definitely know that we don't move our scapula a lot. We do some basic things, and most people, as we get older, we end up just using levator, which people call it the elevator of your shoulder, levator, to lift. And so if you look at kids, they'll brush their hair like this. If you look at adults, they'll brush their hair like this, where they actually lift up using levator. Oh, hi, Rue. Or whatever they're doing. If they're lifting, most adults will lift their actual trap and levator. So earlier we showed the ball, and you can go back and find it. ABCs, this will move your whole shoulder structure, the girdle completely. And then doing passovers. So the ball was alphabet, and then let's see if I don't knock out Jake. So going all the way over, if you can, get your arms as far apart as you can. I like to use a broomstick, and I put one end on the end of the broomstick and the other end right where the sweeper part is, and go all the way over and all the way back.
With straight elbows.
With straight elbows. Yep. And keep your arms out as far as you need to so that you're not causing pain. It shouldn't hurt. You'll feel a stretch, but it shouldn't hurt. And instead of thinking of breaking up or like waking up those nerves, I would think of it as breaking up scar tissue.
Yep.
Scar tissue looks like spider webs. So if you think about not using something for a while, like if you don't go into your attic for a while, you might have spider webs there. Well, in the joint, if you're not using the joint in full range of motion often, like every day, you're likely to develop scar tissue, which again looks like spider webs. So by going through all planes of motion, you'll break up that spider web or scar tissue and have a much better range.
Yeah. So that in my experience, I would definitely agree. I think it's, I've felt a limit of range of motion. And if I knew how to properly do range of motion, then I think I would have been better off. Whereas, you know, static, like people are like, oh, I need to move my scapula more. So they go like this, and they're like, look, I'm moving them as much as I can. It's like, that's not really doing the wrong thing. You know, it's actually hurting you more than it's helping you. So doing really good, proper range of motion, you know, would be the best thing possible. Like the Passovers are amazing. I love that exercise. And it takes a very little amount of time to do those things, and you'll get a big benefit from them. So Tony's got a question. Oh, he's going to try.
Awesome.
Yeah, Tony. Yeah, thanks, Tony. I appreciate that. How about a Theracane on the back? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Theracane.
No, you were going to say something.
No, go ahead.
Somebody asked about, with each breath, said, what about a Theracane on the back? If you definitely have a knot there, or you definitely have some sort of thing going on, I liked using it when, you know, I was in sports med waiting for the massage therapist. I would warm my back up so they didn't have to do their warm up, so I could actually spend more time tearing up the scar tissue, as opposed to, you know, kind of warm it up for 5-10 minutes and then get in there. I was already warm by the time they worked on me. Or if I only had some time and I'd sit there and hook it and find the bad spots, sure. Yeah.
So I agree with that. The only thing I'd like to put as caution, a lot of the times people are using the Theracane, they'll hook it and get all the way back into the rhomboid area. And if you're hooking in the rhomboid, most people's rhomboids, because we're overstretched, are already overstretched. They hurt. And so we're back there, we're digging at it, and we're hooking around the front, and we're digging, we're putting, you know, our back basically in doorknobs or wherever we can get them to alleviate that pain. And it's actually just making it worse. So using it in the levator, where you have this knot right here, I absolutely get in there. I use leverage and I beat the crap out of it. I love it. Great.
Yeah.
But being careful, I would not do it on your actual like lower traps or on rhomboids, because chances are they're already overstretched. I'd really work on releasing your pecs. And if you can open your pecs, then all of this pain will really start to go down.
Pecs, SCM, scalenes, all that stuff causes so much pain and problems, especially for everyday stuff, or from everyday stuff rather. The archery thing, it can
Definitely
bring these things to light because it is single-sided, it's rotational, and it's static. It's three awful things that we're doing that are not working the way that our body is designed to be, right? And if you have any sort of missing link from your everyday life, it's going to surface, because archery is not, in my experience, not natural. So, yeah. Let's see, Ryan, we'll take a couple more questions and then we're probably going to take off here. But Ryan's got a question. Again, thanks for being a patron, Ryan, and everyone else who is a patron out there or has purchased our books or paid for coaching or anything. Thank you. Just being here as well. We really appreciate it. And, you know, just trying to help this community out, and all of this support really helps keep the channel going. So I appreciate it. The best thing you could do on these videos, on any video, is to share it. The more people that see it, the more people that it gets out to, the better. You know, if you're a cat enthusiast and you like geriatric cats, this is your favorite one here. All right, Ryan, your thoughts on Bosu ball exercise? Worth to build balance and stabilizer muscles? Never used one personally, but would had it recommended recently to a guy and tighten his glutes. So the Bosu ball is the half ball, right? Half ball. Yeah, those things are amazing. I love doing like,
planks.
Yeah, do planks on them, do push-ups on them, stand on them.
Do not shoot on it.
No, you don't need to shoot on it.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Yeah. Sorry if you guys like it. Please don't be mad at me, but seriously.
Yeah, there's no need to shoot from an unstable platform, because if you're training your everyday stability, it's going to translate automatically to archery. So in my opinion, standing on a Bosu ball and taking a medicine ball and doing twist throws or slam throws, things like that, you know, not just you throwing it, but then your partner throwing it back to you, and you got to catch it and stabilize. You can sit on it and do those same toss exercises. Huge benefits
do air
in my
squats
opinion.
on them.
Yeah.
And doing planks. So if you're doing a half arm plank on the BOSU ball, it's amazing. You'll really strengthen your shoulder and work through serratus, and the BOSU is one of my favorite things. So.
Yep. And then another thing that I like doing if you don't have a BOSU ball. Hey, thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
You guys are awesome. Thank you. We appreciate that. If you don't have a BOSU ball, you can use a medicine ball. And I like to do a plank on a medicine ball. And it's really challenging after you're doing that plank to then take, and I hold my hands like this, and I draw circles with my hands. And I go one direction, then I go the other direction. In the plank position, you can have your legs wide to stabilize yourself, but it's super challenging. And the more stabilizing like recruitment challenge that you can throw at you, the better for sure. So thank you, Paul, by the way, again, for the super chat. That's awesome. We really appreciate it. He's saying, how about simple motions to test for rotator cuff tear versus impingement versus overuse strains? How to know when to go see the doctor?
So legally, I can't give you tons of tests because I'm not a physical therapist. I'm a massage therapist and a personal trainer combined doing those things. But a simple one that anybody can do at home, you take your hand, put it out to the side, put your thumb down, and slowly lower your arm. And if you have pain as you're lowering your arm or it suddenly drops, I'd say definitely go see your doctor. If you're doing internal, external rotation, and you notice that you've lost strength, I would say go see your doctor. Normally, I would say it's not a bad idea to have a doctor or physical therapist check something out. I know people are a little bit more cautious to do that right now with COVID, for sure. We posted earlier some basic exercises where you use a towel. Excuse me.
Well, you didn't post. We talked about it.
We talked about it. We didn't post it.
I think Paul was here. I saw him commenting earlier.
Was he in there? Okay.
Yeah, rotator
so he was
cuff
here.
stuff.
So I would
If
look
not,
at the rotator stuff. We also posted a previous video for a taping pattern for rotator cuff. But if you have had this issue for a while, and was there an acute incident, Paul? Sorry, I didn't ask that.
Yeah.
Did you have any sort of like pop, tear? Did you drop a table? Did something happen acutely that started the pain?
Because I've dealt with impingement and overuse, and in my experience, they were very similar as far as how they surfaced. And for me, the best thing that I found was just that posterior strengthening, the anterior lengthening, stretch and strengthen.
Right.
Either way, whatever it is,
ABCs.
even I would assume, even with those things, just strengthening your back regardless is going to be of benefit for anything.
It depends on what it is.
Sure.
But always strengthening your back is a great idea in life and in archery. Super beneficial.
Yeah.
But so if there was an acute incident, then and you're having these pains,
like an acute incident, you tripped and fell, caught yourself.
Yeah.
Or you're playing catch or something like that. That would be an acute injury, right?
Yeah. Anything that's like happened that wasn't just part of your normal routine of archery or whatever you're doing.
Then we would say probably go to the doctor. Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. Unless it's there's no swelling or
bruising.
you don't have range of motion issues. Like, can you put your arm behind your back? Can you pat yourself in the back? Do you have full range of motion? Can you go all the way around both directions? Looking at that. Now, if you're just having pain, depending on where it is, if you give us some more information,
I think Paul's a patron. If not, Paul,
send us a message with a little bit more information, Paul.
Yeah, you can email us or whatever. So that way,
yeah, whatever. Email us or don't send a Facebook message. We get too many.
Yeah.
There's a lot of spam, so we're not really answering those at all. It's awful. So either send an email to KaminskiEnterprises@gmail.com, or you can send it through jakekaminski.com, and we'll get to it for sure.
Yeah.
But having a little bit more information or even a video saying, okay, it hurts here, exactly point to. It hurts here when I do XYZ. Yes, I had this acute incident, or no, I didn't. This just has come up over time would be very helpful.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of questions on neck pain. A lot of it has to do with everyday posture, looking down at your phone. Do your back chin tucks are going to be huge. Like doing that is big.
And
strengthening your back.
Anterior neck is huge. So if you're having really bad neck pain, especially the back of your neck, if you look, you have, sorry, it's weird to look at myself like this. So you have the SCM, the sternocleidomastoid. It's these ropes right here. You can like turn your head and then
it's a turning muscle.
So we can tilt. You can actually just grab it, like squeeze it.
Pinch it. Yeah.
So you pinch it, hold on to it. You can pinch this side, hold on to it. You can lengthen back and forth. You don't want to rip it away, just a little pinch. And then with your scalenes, where you have this little divot here, you can actually massage right underneath your clavicle or the collarbone. Sorry, I forgot what it's called. The collarbone. You can massage under that. Don't ever pull out. It breaks with about 2 pounds of pressure. But if you massage this, you can tilt your head up and to the side, and you can see how stretched all this is because I'm really tight from looking at my phone all the time. You can literally just massage yourself like this, rub here, and that already has made my neck hurt less.
And I like the stretch of if you pull down on your chest and you anchor and then you tilt up and away and keep your jaw shut.
Yeah, you can feel all the way.
You can feel a stretch from here all the way down. That one's really good. That's one of my favorite stretches. Yeah. So when in doubt, stretch in front and strengthen in the back.
Always.
For everything.
Even if the back hurts. You're like, my top of my neck hurts so bad, or, my upper back hurts like crazy.
Now that doesn't mean do neck curls. Don't strengthen the back that way.
Actually, you can. If
really?
You laid, So
sounds awful.
In the clinic, we have people lay on like a massage table or a therapy table, and sorry, Bronson, poor kitty. So you lay on the table, and you literally just look down and look up. So there's no resistance. It's just the weight of your head, and you're basically just doing a curl with your neck. So you can do that.
So it's like a back extension for your neck.
It's a back extension for your neck. Although when I do it, I get headaches, so I don't do that. I just really work on strengthening my back, doing cable cross rows, the middle, cable cross rows from high, and then down below.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I think that's we covered a lot of questions. Like I said, if you are gonna check this video out later, or you're not seeing this live, comment below if you're interested in covering some other type of pain things or things like that.
Or taping pattern videos.
Yeah, taping patterns, what you're hurting with and what you kind of would like to be fixed by, and we can come up with some good taping patterns and breakout videos from this, because it seems like people were pretty interested in that. I already posted quite a bit of links of where you can get some of the taping and things like that and the tools. If you missed those links, after this video gets put on the channel, I'll put the links in the description below as well, so you guys can check those out. But overall, thanks for tuning in, guys. We had quite a bit of people come in here and a lot of questions. We did our best to address the questions without actually seeing anybody and seeing like this is exactly where it hurts. So we did our best to give you some guidance that way. And yeah, we appreciate it. If you're interested in more of this, or you're interested in supporting my channel, please head to jakekaminski.com and check that out. There's anywhere from apparel to Patreon to the books that we have for sale, coaching that I'm doing, both face-to-face coaching here locally, coaching on like Skype or Google Hangouts, and also video coaching review as well. A lot of people have been signing up for that, and it's been really beneficial to a lot of people, I think. So thank you everyone for your support out there, and thanks for tuning in to ask us these questions, because this is definitely clearly needed in the community. And you helped Heather out with a school project, which is great. Yeah. So thanks for spending your Sunday with us. I hope everybody had, if you're a U.S. citizen, I hope you guys had a safe 4th of July. and made it home safe and everything like that. And yeah, I hope that everybody is safe everywhere else across the world and doing best with everything that's going on worldwide. So thanks again for tuning in.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Take care.